Welcome to a new weekly wrap-up. I'm Jay, joined with S.
Hi!
And today we'll be walking you through the art we made this week. To start things off, for day 8, the prompt was National Argyle Day. So, for National Argyle Day, I thought to myself, okay, well, which character of our cast would be the most likely to wear Argyle? And for me, that was Liam. So, before this week, he hadn't appeared in our 365-day challenge, so I was like, this is the perfect time to draw him. And since he fits the prompt so well, I was like, okay, well, now's his time to shine.
Yeah.
So when I was drawing this, I was looking up reference for like Argyle sweaters and stuff.
Just clothing in general.
Yeah, usually it's like a sweater.
Yeah, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And I found that, like, especially for men, they would be worn by people for like school uniforms or like the elderly, or maybe someone who's like really posh, and it wasn't always like flattering. Like, people wouldn't wear it for like photo shoots, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
or like,
okay.
you know, they wouldn't wear
Kind
it
of like just like grandpa vibes and
like casual, like, you know, I grabbed this from my closet, like that from the back of my closet, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so for me, I was like, like, how do I make Liam look good in this? And it's not like, you know how like classic like Christmas ugly sweaters, like there's
I don't
like,
think it's that bad.
and that's the thing, right? But like with ugly sweaters, like people have the notion of like, oh, it's tacky, but like in a fun way, right? But Argyle is not meant to be that, right? But I think, or at least I feel like public perception of Argyle is not at the point where like this is fashionable, you know? And so for me, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna draw Liam to the best of my ability wearing Argyle. And originally I drew him actually like scrolling through his phone, looking at some of the art from the previous days that we drew as like social media posts from our other characters, and I was like, okay, like, you know, but it wasn't a focus on Argyle itself, which I thought was kind of a shame. So,
right, since it's the subject.
Yeah, so I was quite unhappy with it, to be honest. And so I talked to S about, you know, what I had drawn, and you know, we draw these daily, but you know, I still felt like I had time to like draw something else.
Right, kind of like the music one from last week, where I initially started with something and then changed my mind because of something that you suggested me do. But this time it was you finished your prompt actually, and then you weren't satisfied and tried to do a second version.
Yeah. And this is one of those times where I definitely feel like your first idea is not always your best idea.
Right.
And I had a really like sinking feeling that this really wasn't it. And so for me, like, going back to the, you know, is Argyle fashionable, like, I was just trying to be like, I just don't feel like I showed Argyle in the best light.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, you gave me a few pointers because I had, you know, asked you about it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of suggested, like, hey, Jay, like, I personally think, right, that Argyle is fashionable. And actually, I was, like, before we started our challenge, we made a couple prompt lists, right? And our like National Argyle Day was one of the ones that we were potentially going to do. And I was actually like before we divvied up who was going to do which ones, I was actually really excited to do Argyle. Like, I wanted to do this one actually.
Yeah.
Because I thought Argyle was fashionable, and when you're like, it's bookish and grandpa and in the back of your closet, I'm like, I don't really feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
And then so I was like to Jay, like, hey, like, what if you made it into like a magazine kind of like
a fashion
cover like page or like photo shoot type of style, because like I feel like if you want to show stylish on the front of a fashion magazine is the most stylish you can get, right? Besides I guess like walking the one runway or something, you know?
Yeah.
And so for me, when you're like, you know, it's only by like I said, grandpas and librarians and it's at death's door or something in the grave fashion, I was like, I think you're missing an opportunity here, you know?
That's the thing for men's clothing, because when you search Argyle like for women, like you have like young women wearing like cute Argyle clothing, right? Or they'll have partial Argyle on their sweaters or whatever. But for men in particular, it's not like they don't, at least, you know, the Google references that I saw, they weren't making like fashion statements out of you know, Argyle. And I think maybe for, you know, for women, you know, Argyle still has that like
kind of cheek vibe.
Yeah,
because like I can think of like Argyle, like just off the top of my head, for women like on like a skirt or something, right? And yeah, or maybe that's more like a check pattern.
I think that's more of a check pattern.
But anyways,
regardless, like I feel like especially for men's fashion, sometimes like especially if people are not going for that sort of quote unquote old school look or like very traditional look.
I think men's fashion tends to run a little bit more plain and not to say standard.
Yeah.
And so something as I don't even want to say like exciting as Argyle, which has, you know, more colors or like different patterns, it might already be not to say too much for men, but like it's not the stereotypical standard men's t-shirt, right?
Yeah, but I think also like potentially because of maybe the way Argyle is perceived, like maybe people don't want to look, you know, nerdy or whatever. And you know, maybe I'm just projecting or something here, or just, you know, but in general, when I was looking for men in Argyle stuff, like they were not like on fashion magazines or whatever. And so, you know, I ended up referencing some fashion magazine like photos or photo shoots, and you know, generally because like men's fashion magazines, a lot of times they're like half naked or like whatever,
okay,
like
yeah, so like they're all wearing clothes and
well, it's like bodybuilding and like this hot celebrity wearing
all I can think of like those like Calvin Klein like photo shoots, like,
and it's like
underwear
the
or something.
complete opposite, right? And you know, I think making the case for Argyle might be, you know, pushing like a rock uphill kind of.
Yeah, and I guess it's like kind of like one of those things like, should I do like an autumn vibe or something? Give him like a pumpkin spice latte or whatever, because like, you know, because Argyle also kind of has that autumny vibe.
Yeah. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, I opted to make it kind of casual, like and I think it works.
Yeah, I mean, what I really liked about this piece, like your new piece is what I mean. Is like I said, how stylish he looks, right? Because he looks kind of a little bit like effortlessly cool.
Yeah.
But also, with the kind of, I guess, wood like background and the like behind him, it kind of gives me like a bit of a hipster vibe.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, especially since like when you think of wood, right? You think of like brown, right?
Yeah.
But because it's kind of like a navy-ish color and kind of cool tones, it just, like I said, gives him like a very cool, not to say standoffish vibe, but like, you know, it's very, it's I don't know, it stands out.
Yeah, and like that's kind of why I like wanted to make it like look casual, like it's like partially tucked in, but then some of it's still kind of sliding out,
right,
peeking out from under, like
I didn't even notice it until you mentioned it just now.
But then the jacket, you know, keeps it all together, right? But yeah, that was it for Argyle.
All right, so it was now my turn, and it was for day 9, and it was the prompt cozy. And so for this prompt, I was really trying to think hard of what I thought was, you know, cozy. And I think it was a little bit, not to say difficult, but one of my like favorite things, which I talked about last week, actually is, you know, the smell of fire, and I think that's really comforting and cozy.
Yeah.
But Jay already did fireplace last week. And so I'm like, okay, I need to think of something else. What else is cozy in my, you know, everyday? And so I was like, okay, I know I like sleeping in bed. My bed is very cozy.
Yeah.
And so initially, actually, I wanted to draw one of our characters. I didn't know who yet at that point, in kind of like a blanket burrito. But I didn't really know how to draw it. So in the end, I just had a picture of Layla just, you know, sleeping in bed and, you know, doom scrolling before bed, and, you know, just kind of just sleeping in a very cozy bed. And well, anyways, this was the return of the watercolor brush from day 1 of our challenge.
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, and what I really like about this brush was kind of the, I guess, effect and feeling that it gave, because it gave it a bit of a, you know, washed out vibe. I mean, it's watercolor.
Yeah.
But because of that, it kind of gives that like early morning but peaceful, like just like quiet hour vibe, which I actually really like.
Like the world hasn't truly woken up yet.
Right.
People are still asleep, right? But the sun is starting to rise. And yeah, actually, I really like that about your piece too, because like, I think, like you said, that vibe is kind of what sells the coziness of it. Like, I think because, you know, they live in such a big city, like it can be so chaotic, but this is like as people and the world is starting to wake up.
Right. Kind of just like having your own corner of peacefulness.
Yeah.
At home or whatever. And I think that, like, as much as the watercolor brush was good and I like it a lot, you can kind of see that the colors on the blanket, if you can even see the pattern, is a little bit like harder to see, a bit muddied because it blends in together, especially because of the darker shadows and only kind of that ray of light in the middle. You can kind of see what the pattern looks like.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of one of the downsides of this brush, but I do think that it looks good, because I mean, yeah, I just like the overall vibe of it. So I don't know, pros and cons, right?
Yeah, I would say unless you really went over it, like it might make it stick out a bit too much. I don't know. I kind of like the washed out vibe, but I do kind of get what you're saying, like where the pattern itself is not really readable. Yeah, I get that. But I mean, for me, I actually really like Layla's expression. Like she looks she looks really relaxed. And
yeah, because I think especially like when you see people sleep, right? Like their facial expressions are like, I guess unless if they're having a nightmare, like they're generally very like loose and very
and I really like that about this. And yeah, to me that just screams maximum coziness, because like, you know, she's clearly like, you know, adrift in her dreams and like, like has sleep kind of, you know, enveloped her and, you know, her blankets and whatever. So yeah, I mean, overall I think the expression and stuff is really good too.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the, I guess, not to say highlights, but like one of the things that really sells it, I think, is also just the phone in her hand.
Yeah, like she fell asleep scrolling.
Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely doom scroll before I sleep.
Yeah,
and then so like, it's just that kind of vibe of just like nodding off with something in your hand and just like, you know, just overtaking you, and then you just like knock out and don't even pay attention to what you're doing. But like that feels so, in a sense, to me, real, right?
It is very relatable, I have to say. One thing I was going to say though is that I think one thing that could have made it more cozy is maybe if she possibly had any like plushies in her room.
Okay, that's fair. Like maybe something she's like hugging or whatever.
Yeah. Like I think that would like add to the cozy vibe. But I mean, otherwise, like I think
as it is, I think it's good. But I think like there could be things that, you know, make it a bit more cozy. right? Because like I was even thinking like, you know, the windowsill is pretty blank and it's fine the way it is, but like, you know, they could have like posters on the wall, could have a plant on the windowsill or whatever, but
or maybe her wall colors could be like
but I didn't think at the same time I didn't really want to take away from the general vibe. So I don't know, like I said, mixed feelings, like pros and cons.
Yeah. I mean, I still really like it.
Yeah, thanks. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it for this one.
So for the next prompt, day 10, it was Hotpot. And for this one, I thought of the most well-known variation of Hotpot, which is the super spicy Sichuan style Hotpot, which is like really red. It's kind of menacing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, Layla really likes spicy food, so she was gonna be in there.
Yeah.
But on a more relatable level, I can't eat spicy food to this degree.
I can't eat spicy food like at all.
And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I could put Ash and Ray there, who are like slightly horrified. But also like, you know, oh, like, you know, maybe I'll pass, and like just showing the different expressions.
Yeah, you have Ash going like hell no, and you have and then you have Ray going like, oh, I guess I'll try a bite maybe.
Yeah. But Layla is like, I am all in, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, like, I just wanted to see, here's the thing with these spicy hot pots, right? Is that the people who enjoy them really, really like them, like genuinely.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're willing to go through the pain to like eat this food, even though it's so spicy or whatever, but they love it.
I guess maybe it's not painful for them, but
maybe their spice tolerance is just that much better than mine, which like
makes sense.
Yeah. And so for me, like, I wanted to make the hot pot look appealingly dangerous, if that makes sense, right? Just because, like, you know, like I said, because the people who do enjoy it really like it, I didn't want to make it look like they were eating like lava,
right?
And like something inedible, because like that's not true, right? Because even when I look at pictures of like Sichuan hot pot, I'm like, honestly, it looks pretty good, but I just see the red, like the flaming red color, and I'm just like, maybe not.
Like, it looks good, but there's still something like at the back of your head going like, you gotta rethink this. Like, you know, red means stop.
Yeah, it's like the primal part of your brain is just like, don't touch that. That is dangerous. Right?
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, some people like they see it and they're like, that's the thing I want to eat, and but yeah, I mean, one thing I did kind of feel bad about was that in my previous spaghetti day prompt, I also drew Layla like gouging down on spaghetti, and so I felt bad that like it made, like, maybe it makes her seem really like gluttonous.
Like, I love food. Food is my life.
But like, she's the one that loves the spicy food in our cast. So like, I was like, you know what, Layla, you're eating this time too. So yeah.
Well, anyways, but no, I actually really like it because like I really like the expressions that you have on their faces.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, like, we kind of mentioned it already, but I really like how excited Layla looks, like, especially with, like, the stars in her eyes and whatnot, and how horrified Ash looks, and especially compared to Ray. Like, Ray doesn't look, like, as horrified, but he's definitely, like...
He's wary.
He's apprehensive and, like, okay,
like, whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, no, like, and I think the little details in your, piece really... like it carries a lot, even though like I said, there are small details. So like I said, whether it's the stars in her eyes or like the spices in the soup or on the ingredients, or even like that kind of ominous aura that the hot pot emits. But at the same time, like when you think of like other anime or manga or whatever, if there's like somebody who's bad at cooking or like they're eating some sort of like gross dish, it's always like like maybe like a purple soup with mixed
Yeah.
unknown ingredients,
It's like
or like
sludge, or
yeah,
it's like
or like some sort of
hard.
like green goop or something. But
Right,
like this is
right.
not it, right? But it still has that ominous vibe, but it still looks good, right?
Yeah, and
And that's what I really like about it, because like you didn't make it like some sort of abomination, right?
yeah, and like that's the thing, right? Like that's the thing with this dish is that like even though I'm not saying it doesn't appeal to me because visually it looks good, but I know that I can't have it, but like just because I can't have it, it doesn't mean that it's not absolutely delicious, which is
Right,
why for
right.
me like I said, making it look appealingly dangerous, like I still use like a miasma brush, but like I like colored it
For like
red.
the smoky effect.
Yeah, because like, you know, it is still dangerous, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
want to make it look like
toxic waste.
yeah, because I feel like I feel like that's disrespectful to like the food itself, but
Yeah.
also to like people who do enjoy it, right? Because they're like,
Yeah.
hey, like just because I like this really spicy food, it doesn't mean I'm eating garbage, right?
Yeah, and like honestly, Jay and I personally really love Hotpot, and Hotpot comes in all different kinds of
Yeah.
flavors. So if you're like, I've never had Hotpot before, like honestly, there's so many kinds that are like not Sichuan like Hotpot that are
Right.
not like flaming red, like, and there are some that are, you know, sweet and savory or whatever. So definitely, I think like if you have a chance, you should give it a try.
I think there's a hot pot for everyone.
I agree. For day 11, it was back to my turn, and the prompt was snow shoveling. So actually, for this piece, I had a different. Well, my first concept was actually kind of a, how to say it, a snow shoveling tournament. Oh, like I don't know the best way to describe it, but I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have different members of our cast like shovel snow in different ways. So, one of them was, for example, Liam with a snowblower. Or like Ruby, she has like fire powers. She can like burn the snow away.
the snow, yeah,
exactly. And then you know, others like Ash or whatever will be using a regular, you know, snow shovel, right? Like classically. But then I couldn't really figure out how to, I guess, fit them all on the page, especially since
Right.
our our standardized templates for ourselves that we've decided on is either going to be vertical or square.
Right.
And so
yeah.
because like if it was horizontal, I probably would have tried to make it work, but because it was vertical, it was so difficult to draw so many characters doing so many different things.
I wonder if you could have like I wonder if you could have made them like snow shovel like down a hill. Like maybe you could have made that work.
Yeah, I don't know. And so
Yeah.
like I couldn't think of it in that
but in a race
in-
to the finish line.
Oh,
Snow shovel.
like I said, I couldn't think of it in that one day of drawing, or you know, a few hours of drawing.
Yeah.
And so like you can even see that like I initially planned to draw Liam in the back, but I ended up not drawing him until like the very end when I was done, when I actually had a bit more space, and I'm like, you know what, I still want him in the background. And Liam's kind of one of the only remnants of that snow shoveling tournament idea. And so anyways, I changed my mind and tried to show the, I guess, frustrations of snow shoveling, but
Oh,
I also
yeah.
kind of wanted to give it a bit of a, not to say a twist, but yeah, a twist, and actually kind of make it more funny than anything
Yeah.
else. And so I chose Ash, who is a character who comes from a world that doesn't have winter, and
Yeah.
so maybe it's like the first time he's shoveling snow, and so that's why he's
Right.
not even holding the shovel properly.
Oh yeah.
And-
no, he'll hurt himself.
And
for
then
sure.
so he's like throwing it behind him, but of course there's collateral damage in Ray. And
Yeah.
I mean it's a fun piece.
Yeah. I actually, I was going to say I love Ash's expression. I think he really encapsulates like, I guess, cause like when you first like shovel snow for the first time of the season, you're like, oh, okay, yay, like this is fun. It's back again, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially with if you're doing it with other people,
Yeah.
it can be a bit of an activity, I guess you could call
but
it.
then as the season goes on, as you get more and more snow,
Or
you're-
even like same day, like if snow
Yeah.
keeps on falling and then like you have to come back out like a few hours later to shovel again
Yeah.
and again and again.
like it's a snowstorm or something.
Yeah.
Then like you're like, okay, maybe it's kind of getting to be a bit of a hassle. Right?
Yeah, I mean, especially like even in real life, right? Like when we have to go shovel in like the early morning hours so it doesn't like freeze over or something,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like it's a chore.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, you know,
It has to be done.
yeah,
right?
it does
has to-
get frustrating.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I really liked Ash's expression, and man, poor Ray. Like
Yeah.
he's just standing there. He is, like you said,
He didn't do
collateral
anything.
damage.
He didn't deserve
He
this.
didn't deserve it, but I think that's what makes the piece so funny. Because like when I saw it for the first time, I just laughed.
Well, then I did my job.
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Because like he's like Ash is just angrily like, you know,
Throwing
the snow behind
Yeah.
him, and Ray just happens to be there. Like he has no situational awareness.
Yeah,
right?
Ash on his warpath fighting in the snow, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Well, anyways, but this one was the first one where I actually used some like kind of sound effects.
Yeah.
Or like lettering in my own piece. And you know, I think it works because of the, I guess, action that Ash is doing and hitting Ray, but also like just kind of the unserious nature of the piece in general.
Yeah. Yeah, otherwise, like, I thought, like, after you added Liam, I was like, Liam, he's the one that's smart.
Yeah, I mean, he has his snowblower.
Like, you can see the snow basically all the way up their, like, hips.
Yeah.
To practically, like, torso.
Yeah.
Like, height. And Liam's there with his snowblower, and Ash is just, like, you know, chucking away with his shovel, right? And it's just, like, you know, like... And I know you were saying that, like, you know, Ash is, like, unprepared for winter because he doesn't have the experience and stuff, but this is where it's like, yeah. You know, like, it seems like Liam has the experience, whereas Ash is just, like, fighting an unending battle.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so for the next prompt, it was day 12, sledding. And for this one, I actually already had an idea of what I wanted to do. Like, obviously, I was gonna draw a character or two sliding down the hill on a sled, and it was gonna be perfect.
Makes sense.
And originally, my first idea, which I said before is not always your best idea, was going to be Ash and Ray sliding down the hill together.
I see.
But then, you know, the more logical side of me was like, wait, will they fit?
Yeah, I guess they're kind of big.
Yeah, and so I was like, I think maybe I need to rethink this. And
Right.
so I was thinking like, okay, well, sledding is a pretty, like, it's a family activity a lot of times, for young children. And so, like, you know, a lot of people have fond memories of their childhood, like if you live in a snowy region of, you know, sledding and stuff. So I was like, okay, perfect. I can draw baby Ray and Adam. And
his father.
Yeah, his father. And they will go, you know, sledding. And, you know, Ray will have the time of his life, and Adam will just, you know, he'll be there as support.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no, I really like this one because, as you said, Ray having the time of his life, and that's kind of what really, I guess, not to say drew me to this picture, but I really like the expression that you gave him because he just lights up the photo. Like, I think, like, obviously it's a very bright photo and, like, it's happy and whatever, but like I said, Ray's, not just his expression, his pose and everything.
Yeah.
Like, he just is so... He's expressing himself that he's having so much fun, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it, like, draws your focus to Ray so much, even though obviously he's in the center, but, you know, I really liked what you did with him.
I think for him, what I really wanted to do was show his, like, like a childlike innocence, but also like joy, right?
Yeah,
Because
very
like,
carefree.
yeah, and I think at this part of his life he was very carefree, right? Like you know, he had a decentish childhood with Adam, and like with this, like you know, even Adam himself, he's not as like guarded or paranoid
Right.
or angry. He's kind of innocent looking as well. And actually initially I had an idea for his hat to be flying away and he'd be like, oh no, right. I thought that it might take away from
Yeah,
Ray.
especially I guess if you have him like completely turn away from the camera and like, look back behind him, for example.
So instead I just made him like hold on to his hat because they're going so fast.
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't really like adrenaline like filled activities. Who knows?
Right.
I think like talking about Adam and how he has a innocent expression, like I didn't really think about that until you just mentioned it, and I think you're right because I mean in our series you kind of see him and know him to be a more, like as you said, paranoid and like kind of defensive type of person. Whereas here, like you said, very carefree and like kind of, you know, he's enjoying himself even though he's kind of like, oh god, holding for my life.
Yeah.
Right? But no, it's nice to see them enjoy the moment.
He's still in a position where he's like protecting Ray, so obviously his legs and stuff are like holding onto him and
like bracing
and
on.
his arm is like still like holding on to him. So like I still want to show that he's like protective of Ray, but not in the same way of he's restricting Ray's joy and freedom in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, so I drew this photo, and then as I was actually writing the script for my short, I found out that I had drawn tobogganing.
Oh no.
Which, like, I was like, are you for real? Like, and I genuinely thought I drew sledding the whole time. Because, I mean, we use sledding, like, synonymously with, like, wooden sleds too, but turns out, like, that is, like, tobogganing. And I was like, are you serious? Like,
right.
But like,
it's a technicality.
Yeah,
right?
it is the technicality, but, it also made it interesting because I was like, okay, well, what is the difference between tobogganing and sledding? And I went to find out, and I was like, I wonder if other people know this.
Right.
So, yeah, I decided to, you know, ramble about that.
Yeah, in your YouTube short.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I think when people are talking about, you know, sledding or tobogganing, we all, like you said, think of the same thing. And so I think there's like the technical side where like I guess you're technically wrong.
Yeah.
But I think in everybody's mind, everybody knows what you're trying to get at, right?
Right, yeah.
And on to day 13, it was back to me again, and this day's prompt was astronaut. And, you know, I was pretty psyched for this prompt because, you know, I love space.
Yeah, I love space.
Everybody loves space. But space can be kind of hard to draw, and especially astronaut is the prompt, not actually space itself.
That's true,
right?
That's true.
And so, like, gearing up for this prompt, I was really excited, but then when it came to actually doing it, I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, oh no.
So, it was actually kind of difficult to even find astronaut suit references.
Oh, that's surprising.
Like, because I was, you know, Googling it as I tend to do for references.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a couple of different spacesuits out there, whether it's like NASA or like other countries' space programs. But then mixed into those astronaut references are also, because I wanted the classic white suit thing that we all know.
Yeah.
But mixed into there was also like those orange suits that we see a lot of the time.
Oh.
Or like kind of just like, here's an astronaut and like it's a photo shoot of them like just sitting like just a plain portrait or something with without the suit on or something. So like those would be mixed up in the astronaut references, but also games that have space stuff. So like game related or game
characters.
Yeah, well, game characters is one thing, but also like just like game, how to say it, their interpretations of the astronaut suit,
okay, yeah.
but also movies. And so,
yeah.
So it was a bit difficult, honestly, to find a good reference point, right? And so for myself, I kind of just had to wing a lot of the details.
Oh no, yeah.
And but you know, there's some things that are kind of standard, like this vest thing in the chest area,
Right.
and so like some of them are very detailed, some of them are not as detailed, and I honestly didn't want to draw that many details, so it's a little bit more simplified, but I think it works as it is.
Like what I'm hearing though is that you did kind of have to like mix and match references.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I looked at so many of them. Like let's say like regularly I look at say 2 or 3 references.
Okay.
This time I think I looked at solidly double or more. Right?
That's not that bad.
Well, no, I know
that's not that
but
bad. You made it sound like you were looking at like 30
well,
different
no, I'm
astronauts.
talking about like double of just the white suit. I'm not talking about like you eliminate all the orange suits and all those other like I was literally looking at like pictures of like the astronaut inside the spaceship, like a photo of somebody like looking in, but you can't really see the details. And you can only see maybe like their head or something.
Yeah.
But you can't see their chest down, right? Well, anyways, so that's besides the point. And so anyways, yeah, so one of the reasons why I wanted to draw Ray was because, well, he's our protagonist, and our series is, you know, it's action adventure and going out into different worlds to explore, and which is basically kind of what an astronaut does, right?
Yeah.
And you know, on the picture itself, I drew kind of the shadows of different worlds around him, and then Ray kind of reaching out because, you know, he wants to, like, I guess, find something new, or, you know, that kind of feeling, right?
Yeah, I actually really like Ray's expression here because, like, even though it's like, even though space is so like vast and like it can be very scary, like he's very calm, and to me when he's like reaching out in front of him, it shows a sort of curiosity to like connect with these different worlds and planets and stuff. So yeah,
I mean, one last thing I just kind of wanted to mention was that, like, because I wanted the classic white suit, it was a little bit, I guess, difficult to, I guess, color him, because, like, he's wearing white, and I didn't want to, like, shade him in a way that took that away, if you know what I'm saying.
Made it, like, not white anymore.
Right. Like gray or brown or whatever, and still have that classic white look. And especially with the space in the background, right? Because space, even though it's very dark, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the times when you see like artistic interpretations of the galaxy or whatever, it's actually really colorful, and so I kind of wanted to mix that vibe, you know what I'm saying? Like like the white stands out from the background because it's like the contrast is high with the dark background, but also at the same time make the background like multi-shaded colors.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I definitely think, like, especially when you think of astronauts, when they're in their white suit, or if there's any like structures in space that are like fully white, like that's like the first thing that your eye is drawn to. And I definitely feel like you achieved that with this one, because I mean the white really stands out, and I'm sure like if you did like orange or whatever, it probably would have, you know, stood out as well. But I think because in the minds of, I guess, everyday regular people, at least for myself, like I always think, when I think of astronauts, like I always think of, you know, the classic white suit, that kind of thing. And like even when you watch like movies and stuff, right? And so I mean, I think the white suit was a good call, and it really does make him stand out from the background of space. Alright, and for our final one, day 14, the prompt was paint. And so initially this was also one where I drew something else. I drew Ray painting Ash, and it was just a comical one. Like Ash was posing with like a rose in his mouth and something, and like, you know, they were, you know, Ray was painting a silly pose, but then I was like, you know, I feel like I can do something a little bit more meaningful.
I guess kind of like that other one that you did, the Argyle one,
Yeah.
where you decided to, you know, you had second thoughts basically.
I did, and it's not that I'm not proud of the work, but it was just like, you know, like, I feel like there's so much more I could do with painting, and I think because painting, and doing art in general, it's like, there's, like, everybody has different, like, ways that they interact with art, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, it's, like, you may be drawing something silly or whatever, but I felt like, you know, for Ray, like, would he really, you know, paint with that intention? Like, he's, like, at least at the moment, he's not someone who's, like, really, like, not necessarily impulsive, but, like, he seems to want to do something that is meaningful, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so for me, I was like, you know, would he, like, I'm sure if Ash had asked him, like, oh, can you paint me in this silly pose, like, he would say okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it kind of felt like, you know, maybe Ash wouldn't ask him to do that in the first place.
Right, and I think with your current piece, like, it shows off Ray's more reflective side,
Yeah.
I think. With how he interprets the city in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what I really like about what you've done with this piece, obviously, is the vivid colors and those things, but also how you kind of duplicated that into, I guess, Ray's own personal style. And, you know, when I look at this piece, obviously, like I said, I really like the colors, but when I look at, you know, Ray, the subject, I kind of wonder what Ray's expression is, like, looking at the scenery in front of him, right?
Yeah.
Even though he's capturing it, I wonder how he sees the world. But at the same time, like, you kind of get to experience the same kind of wonder, I guess, that Ray is seeing and experiencing in front of him, because you get to see what he sees, right?
Yeah, and actually that's kind of the reason why I framed it this way, because, you know, I could have shown Ray's expression, like, I could have drawn his side profile possibly, right? Like, and him, like, you know, really, like, paying attention to whatever he's painting, but to me it felt more impactful of him really soaking in the scenery that he's trying to capture, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, like you were saying, with his more reflective side, and, you know, the fact that he comes from, you know, a small town, well, not even a small town, literally the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, isolation.
Yeah, you know, something like the big city is such a drastic change for him.
Yeah.
And it's
Completely out of this world.
yeah, totally. And it's one of those things where, like, especially the city with all its sights and sounds and stuff can be really overwhelming, but he's kind of, like, taken a back seat, so to speak, but also still soaking it in.
I kind of feel like with this piece, right? I think in our webcomic, he's a little bit lost in the busyness of the city,
Yeah.
right? But with your piece here, he can kind of approach the city in a way that he can, if you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, sort of like on his own terms.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
And I guess for me, it was just like, you know, when figuring out, like, okay, what is the thing that Ray would want to paint, right? And trying to get into his headspace, like, what is something that he would want to remember, right? You know, what would he be nostalgic for, or, like, what would he be interested in? And I think
Or like memorialize even.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or
and-
immortalize.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's part of the thing, like, new experiences and new places and people and just new environments, right?
Right.
And just, like, new ways of seeing the world, right?
Right.
Because, like you were saying before, like, this like, the city is so out of the ordinary for him, and it is out of his own world. It's just trying to kind of be a part of that world, where it's like he's sort of like not an alien to it, right? Or maybe he himself feels alienated, right? But, like, maybe he like initially doesn't feel like he can participate
Right.
in, you know, the society, but is willing to put himself out there to participate in it anyways.
Right, right. And like you said, kind of doing it in his own way.
Yeah.
Alright, so that's pretty much it for this week's weekly wrap up from the both of us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. If you'd like to see more, you might be interested in last week's video too. See you there.